Hey third graders, it's Mrs. Seals back for our second science lab of the school year. So for the next couple of weeks, we are going to be talking about physical properties. Hopefully that sounds familiar to you. Hopefully you've already started talking about that in your class. Physical properties are ways we can describe objects. So in kindergarten, first and second grade, you talked about some properties like color, size, shape. You talked about how things felt, which is called their texture. All of those are ways we can describe objects. Today, in third grade, we're going to be talking about a property called temperature. All right, so your target today says, actually, you have two targets today. The first one says, I can collect, record, and analyze information using tools including Celsius thermometers, and I can measure, test, and record physical properties of matter, including temperature. So we're going to be doing both of those things today. All right, before we start the activity, I am going to talk to you a little bit about temperature and how we measure it and all of those things. All right, so this says temperature. It has your two targets again. Collect, record, and analyze information using tools, including Celsius thermometers, and I can measure, test, and record physical properties of matter, including temperature. So first we need to find out, what is temperature? Hopefully that word sounds familiar to you. Temperature is a measure of how hot or how cold something is. We see temperature being measured or taken in many places in our day-to-day lives. Can you think of where we can see temperature being taken? A lot of times people automatically associate temperature with weather, and they don't realize that we use temperature and measure temperature in many different ways in our lives every single day. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. I want you to think about where you've seen temperature being taken. You're going to pause this video and go into the Schoology folder where you found it, and there will be a discussion board spot. You're going to create a post telling me a place where you have seen temperature being taken in your day-to-day life. After you do that, you're going to come back to this video and press play to continue. All right? See you in a second. All right, welcome back. So here are some examples of places where we see temperature being taken. These are just a few of the most common examples. You may have come up with a different idea. That's great. I'm just going to tell you about a couple. All right, so one very common place where we see temperature being taken or measured is on the stove or on the oven. All right, this is very important because if you're cooking, you need to make sure that your food gets heated to the correct temperature in order to be cooked all the way, right? So I like to bake, I like to cook, I do it all the time. When I'm following a recipe of something that, is going to use my oven, it always says, heat your oven to 350 degrees or heat your oven to 400 degrees, all right? So that is very important. Another way we see temperature being taken is in our homes or in our schools or really any building. This is called a thermostat. It goes on the wall, and this right here is telling the temperature of the air inside. And then you can control, the temperature depending on if it's too hot or too cool for you. So we take the temperature of our homes, our schools. This is a thermometer for our bodies. The first thing, if you say you don't feel well and you go to the nurse or your mom takes you to the doctor, one of the first things they do is they take your body temperature, right? That way they know if your body temperature is too high or too low, they know that something else could be going on with you. So we take our body temperatures. This is showing the weather. So this shows the high and the low temperatures over a week time period. When we're discussing weather and temperature, we are referring to the outside air temperature. And we also, this is called a meat thermometer. So this kind of goes back to cooking. When you're cooking meat like beef or pork or chicken or something, you have to make sure that it gets heated to the correct temperature so that nobody gets sick. And then that's what this thermometer does. It takes the temperature of the meat. So we use thermometers and temperature to measure temperature for many, many different things. It says, how is temperature measured? Temperature is measured by using a thermometer, and that's one science tool that you're pretty familiar with. We used these last year in second grade if you were here. Thermometers can look different, but they all do the same thing, which is measure temperature. And here are some different examples of different types of thermometers that you may see, all right? They look different, they might work in a little bit different ways, but they all are doing the same job, which is measuring temperature. Again, how is temperature measured? So here is a thermometer for you. And it says there are two main scales for measuring temperature. These are Fahrenheit and Celsius. This F down here at the bottom of this thermometer, this is telling us that this side of the thermometer is measuring in Fahrenheit, okay? Then this C down here at the bottom is telling us that this side of the thermometer is measuring, this side of the thermometer is measuring in Celsius. Temperature is recorded like this. So you'll put the number, this little circle at the top, and then if you're using Fahrenheit, you'll put a capital F. If you're using Celsius, you'll use a capital C. The little circle at the top of the number is a symbol that means degrees. So you know a lot of times when we're writing or drawing, we use symbols. Instead of writing out the word degrees every time, you can put that little circle at the top. So you would read this as 76 degrees Fahrenheit, or you would read this one as 23 degrees Celsius. So which one do we use? In the United States, where we live, typically Fahrenheit is used. If you were to listen to the weather report and they say it's going to be 98 degrees today, they're talking about degrees Fahrenheit, all right? Because we live in the United States. But in pretty much the rest of the world, minus a couple of exceptions, Celsius is used, okay? However, scientists everywhere use Celsius. So since we are in the science lab, we are using Celsius, even though we're in the United States. The reason that scientists all over the world use Celsius is because scientists, they share their work a lot. And if I want to read about an experiment that another scientist has done, I don't want to have to spend time trying to figure out, well, are they using Fahrenheit or Celsius? So all scientists all over the world always use Celsius. That way they automatically know which one the scientist is using. All right, so we're going to be using Celsius. How does a thermometer work? All right, so here's a picture of the type of thermometer that we have here in the science lab at Pershing Park. Hopefully you should recognize this. We used these last year in second grade. So what happens is when things get heated up, when anything gets heated up, the molecules in it start to move faster and faster and faster. So when that happens, when this red liquid down here starts to get heated up and the molecules start to move faster and faster, it causes this red line to move up. The hotter it is, the further up this red line is going to go. When things cool off, the molecules slow down. This causes the red line to move down. The colder it is, the further down the red line will go. Now we're going to talk about how to use and read a thermometer. This is going to sound like a lot of information, but I'm going to show you in just a second. So the thermometer is going to show the temperature of wherever that red bulb at the bottom is. So right now, this red bulb is telling us it's measuring the air in the science lab because that's where the red bulb is. okay? If I want to read the temperature of a cup of water, I have to set the thermometer in and count to about 10 in my head. This gives the red line time to move up or down, depending on if the water is hotter or colder than the air in the science lab. So I cannot just put this in the cup of water or whatever I'm measuring the temperature of and immediately look at it, okay? That red line needs a chance to move, especially if what I'm measuring is really, really, really hot. That red line is going to go pretty far up. So you have to give it about 10 seconds. Same thing if what I'm measuring is very, very cold. That red line needs time to move down. All right, so you got to count to about 10 before you get your reading to make it the most accurate. When it's time to read the temperature, I'm going to get down at eye level and read the thermometer while it's still in the water. If I take this out of the water to try and look at it up close, that red line is just going to move and adjust again, because then it's no longer telling me the temperature of the water, it's telling me the air temperature again, right? So you're going to keep it into the cup of water. And again, I'm going to show you all this in just a minute. All right, so here's an up close of this thermometer here. So this is how you're going to read and use the thermometer. So it says, after the red line stops moving, find the line it is closest to. Here's what I'm going to do. Since you can't see the F and the C on this one, I'm going to tell you, whoops. Sorry. This side is Fahrenheit. I'm going to put an F. This side is Celsius, so I'll put a C. All right. Okay, so after the red line stops moving, find the line that it's closest to. You may have to skip count. On this thermometer, on the Fahrenheit side, you will have to count by twos. I know this because there are 4 small dashes between each large number. Each line represents 2 degrees. So for example, here's 80, 82, 84, 86, 88, 90. All right, so that's the Fahrenheit side. I'm going to have to skip count. So this thermometer is showing that it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Whenever you are recording or telling somebody a temperature, you always have to label it. I can't just say it's 90 because we don't know what that means. 90 what? 90 days, 90 seconds, 90 inches. So you always have to label your answer. And since we're using temperature, we always have to say degrees and then either Fahrenheit or Celsius. All right, let's practice on the Celsius side. All right, so what do you count by on the Celsius side of this thermometer? So that's this side over here. I want you to look and see if you can figure out what I'm going to count by. Do I need to skip count? Am I going to just count by ones? What do you think? I'll give you a second to look at it. All right, so it says count by ones. You're exactly right. You can tell because there are 9 little dashes between each large number. Each line is 1 degree. So for example, there's 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So you're lucky because on the Celsius side on this thermometer, you don't have to skip count. Just count by ones. Each of those little dashes is 1 degree on the Celsius side. Okay, so it's very careful whenever you're using, you have to be very careful whenever you're using a new thermometer, because like we just saw a couple minutes ago, not every thermometer looks like this. Every thermometer is different. Sometimes you don't have to skip count, sometimes you do. Sometimes you might be counting by 2s or 3s or 5s. So it's very important that you look closely at those lines to see what you're going to have to skip count by for each of those little dashes. All right. So I want to see if you can tell me, what is the temperature in degrees Celsius? So remember, this side is Celsius. We're looking at these numbers over here. Go to the top of the red line. All right, I'll give you another second to figure it out. All right, if you said 32 degrees Celsius, you are correct. There's 30, that black line is 30, the thicker one, 31, 32. If you just said 32, remember you have to label your answer, 32 degrees Celsius. Good job. All right, you guys are doing awesome. Okay, so now we are going to do some practice. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. All right, so this is going to maybe be a little tricky since you guys are not here in person. I'm going to do my best to hold the thermometer up to where you can see it. You know, we're doing the best we can with this virtual learning, all right? So right here I have some different cups of water. I have cold water. This is water that has been in the refrigerator for a little while, so it's been cooled off. I have what we call room temperature water, which means I just got it out of the sink. It hasn't been cooled off or heated up. And then I have some warm water that has been heated up. It's not super hot. It's not going to hurt me or anything, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to first show you, remember I said I was going to model how to read the thermometer, and then we're going to do some practicing together. When we're all finished and you're finished with the video, you're going to go back into Schoology, and there's some short little questions for you to answer to see what you remember about temperature, taking temperature and thermometers. Okay, it's not for a grade, it's just for practice to see what you know. If you forgot something, because I know I talked about a lot of things today, you can go back into the video and watch it again to help you, all right? Okay, so remember, let's start with the cold water. Remember, I told you that when I want to take the temperature of something, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to carefully put my thermometer in there, and I'm going to count to about 10 because that red line needs time to move. All right? Since this water is cold, it's much colder than the air in the science lab, it needs time to move pretty far down. All right? So when it's time for me to check the temperature, remember, I'm not going to pull the thermometer out of the water because then it's not going to be telling me the temperature of the water anymore. It's going to be telling me the temperature of the air. And I want to know the temperature of this water. So remember, I said you need to get down about eye level so you have an accurate reading. I'm going to make sure that red circle stays under the water. And I'm looking at degrees Celsius, so I don't have to skip count. So this is telling me that this cold water, the temperature is about 15 degrees Celsius. Okay, I'm going to see if I can show you. Again, no promises. We're doing the best we can. I'm keeping that red bulb under the water. Do you see how I got 15? Oh, it looks like it has gone up a little bit now, maybe to about 16. Start counting at 10. You can count by ones. And it goes to the top of the red line is about 16 degrees Celsius. Does everybody see how I got that? All right. So that was the cold water. We're going to do this again together with the room temperature water. Hasn't been heated up or cooled off. So I want to ask you to make a prediction. Do you think that this water is going to be warmer or colder than the temperature that has been in the refrigerator? What do you think? You think it's going to be warmer? I agree with you because I haven't cooled it off. So that means our red line is going to go up, right? Let's see. I wonder if I can show you so you can see it going up. Can you see it going up? Not so. Oh, there it goes. You can see it now, right? See the red line moving up slowly, slowly? Remember, we were at, what, 16 with the cold water? Give it a couple more seconds to see if it needs to move anymore. All right, I'm going to keep that red bulb under the water. See if you can tell me in degrees Celsius what the temperature is. What do you think? I think it looks like it's about 27 degrees Celsius. 27 degrees Celsius. So remember, Celsius is this side. If I look at it, I can find, there we go. I can find 20 and I can count up. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So it's about 27 degrees Celsius. So were we right? Was this water warmer than the water that had been in the refrigerator? It was, right? All right, for our last one, this is water that has been heated up. Again, it's not super duper hot. Okay, so I want you this time to tell me what do I need to do? What's the first thing I'm going to do? Very good. I'm going to take my thermometer. I'm going to set it into my cup of water. And I'm going to count to about 10 to give it time to move. Let's see if you can see that red line moving. Oh, I see it going up. Do you see it going up? This water is warm, much warmer than the other one. Give it a couple more seconds to stop moving. All right, now, am I going to take the thermometer out of the water to read the temperature? No, why not? You're exactly right, because when I take it out, it's no longer going to be telling me the temperature of this water. It's going to adjust and start moving to tell me this air temperature again, right? So I'm going to keep it in the water. And there we go. Let's see. This side over here is Celsius, remember. What do you think? I see 40. Looks like it's pretty much between 41 and 42. So we could say like 41 and a half. Might be going down a little bit now to be closer to 41. So we would say it's 41 degrees Celsius. All right. Okay, you guys did an awesome job talking about thermometers and temperature with me here today. Remember that when this video is over, you're going back into Schoology to the quick assessment. It's not for a grade. I just want to see what you learned, what you know about temperature and thermometers. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me. My email address is amanda.seals@killeenisd.org. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.